one of my last bills, and this bill is what's needed for America, or America will implode. I predict the first state to go will be Alaska, is to get a landmass bigger than most European countries and has its own revenue stream. Then you'll see some of the Southwest states are going to get tired of sending money to Washington that's not coming back to them, but going to other parts of the country and being squandered. The Trafficant Tozan bill, and Tozan was a Republican from Louisiana, we repeal the 16th Amendment and abolish the IRS, period. Now listen carefully. We establish a 25% national final retail sales tax. Everybody pays. Sounds crazy, but Harvard did a study and said when you take the burdensome IRS code off American business, there'd probably be no increases in prices. There would be no more withholding, no more tax on savings, no more capital gains tax, no tax on investment, no death tax, no tax on education. And most importantly, John, that 25% tax is on that border. Those imports coming across that border, and it's not protectionist. Now, a car made in America that's sold overseas carries no American load. Right now, it's loaded down in America and loaded down overseas. They can't sell it. And people are starting to look at it and say, this progressive communist income tax penalizes achievement, kills investment, subsidizes illegitimacy, rewards dependency. It's got to go. And until it goes, listen, America's bankrupt, and they're not going to grow wealth from accumulating more debt. Think about that.
Well, and we're since the grab bag has been opened up, and you got out just in time to see some of the things that the federal government has been up to. Obama, in his first, he's not even into his first year. His rating right now is hovering around 34% approval. He just said that, hey, we've got to send 30,000 troops to Afghanistan.
This is ridiculous.
Well, it's more than ridiculous. I mean, let's take history past just from the Russians. There's been a whole lot of other people that went in Afghanistan, and it didn't end up well for them. But we're going to spend $3 billion more just for a year's deployment for these people. What's the mission there? We've got to get Al-Qaeda. And what they're doing is staging themselves for possibly Pakistan right now, and maybe soon to be Iran.
No doubt about it. If you saw the Greta Van Susteren show, there's been a groundswell since that show. And everybody's calling their congressman because I'm hearing it. And they're saying, how come you've never told us what's going on in this country? And let me tell you something. I'm not an anti-Semite. I've been labeled an anti-Semite, naturally. I brought Demjanjuk home. I've been targeted. Number one target of American-Israeli Public Affairs Committee, and number one target of the FBI and the IRS and the Justice Department. But listen to this statement. Israel has a stranglehold on the government of the United States, a literal stranglehold. They have us involved in wars of little or no interest to our national security that have bankrupted us and have made enemies and have now started to import that violence into America. Now they're getting us further into Israeli expansionist wars. They've bankrupted us. Look, somebody's got to say enough is enough. America got to take care of America. Why is it that a country has so much power over us, controls the press, controls the commerce, controls the banks, controls the government? And listen to this statement. If you read my column this coming week in the American Free Press, it's a two-part series on AIPAC, and the first part basically says this. I want you to listen to this statement. Listen carefully to the quote. We don't understand why you continue to ask me what America is going to say about this and about that. Israel is not concerned about American pressure. We, the Jewish people, control America, and the Americans know it. End quote. You know who made that statement?
It was either Ariel Sharon or Benjamin Netanyahu.
That was Ariel Sharon, October 3, 2001, and you probably never heard it in the mainstream media. That's how the mainstream media covered it up. They were embarrassed by the statement. But listen to what he said. We, the Jewish people, control America, and the Americans know it. Now, what Americans know it? I knew it, and I'm saying it. Look, if there's a threat to America, I'm going to say it. And I don't like what's happening, John. Country's in grave jeopardy. We don't have to go off half-cocked against Israel. But I'm going to tell you this. That Israeli lobby has spied on us 3 or 4 times already. They've gotten away with it, and enough is enough.
Well, you remember the USS Liberty incident.
No doubt about it. And they knew what they were doing.
And what we're doing here is funding. We've spent a lot of time, and we sent a lot of money to Israel. What's your position here on what they've been doing to the Palestinians?
Oh, it's a shame. Palestinian children are God's children too, and there's genocide over there. Let's tell it like it is. There are war crimes all over the place, and everybody's afraid to even whisper it. They'll probably put me back in prison for some violation of some sort, because I'm at least saying what's happening here. I'll just tell you this right now. I think the Mideast problem could be solved in 6 months, John. I want you to listen. If America suspended all aid to the Mideast until a verifiable truce is in effect, I give it 6 months and Israel would lead the charge, because Israel has no economy. They're getting $15 to $20 billion from the American taxpayers every year. I want your listeners to hear this. $25,000 to $30,000 for every man, woman, and child is going to Israel from our hard-earned dollars, and we're bankrupt over here. Bankrupt. They're lying to us. They're getting that kind of money. We cut the money out over there, and there'll be a peace agreement in 6 months, and Israel will be the one who will play the lead. They'll be calling the meeting for Camp David.
We'll take this break. My guest today, Jim Trafficant, maybe going back to Congress. They wanted to elect him out of prison. Or maybe how about this one? Think about this one during the break, folks. How about a Ron Paul Jim Trafficant ticket for president? We'll be right back. Jim, have you ever heard of a group of, well, they're Jewish people out of New York. They're called Nutricardi. They've got a website called NKUSA. And this might surprise you, because every year, 10,000 of them fall out in the traditional garb, the yarmulkes and the pigtails and the black outfits, all with carefully printed signs, very neat about it, decrying the state of Israel. And they said, wait a minute here. According to our own Torah teachings, we're not supposed to have our own state until our Messiah comes. There's a little problem there between Christians and Jews, but hey, that's not my business to mess with their belief system. But they also say something else. They're against the state of Israel, and they are dead set against Zionism.
Well, look, one of the problems you have is all you have to do is whisper a concern about Israel, and you're labeled an anti-Semite. They're very powerful, very powerful. But there are many Jewish Americans. These are great Americans. I'm not an anti-Semite. You're not an anti-Semite, and I know that. But AIPAC is turning the American people slowly but surely against Israel. They're going to pay a big price because America's starting to learn. See, most congressmen will never even whisper this, never, what I've said on Greta Van Susteren. Now, I've been called a lot of things, but the bottom line is I'm telling the truth. Our country's in danger. And look, it can be straightened out. Now, the tax system, forget all this health care and cap and trade. That's all crazy stuff. That's symptoms. You've got to change the tax scheme. Once that tax scheme starts rewarding people for work, letting them keep all their money, and when they spend their money, we raise our revenue. And all those people from overseas come to visit Vegas, they pay into our tax scheme. And, John, that big underground narcotics and criminal economy, they all pay taxes. Right now they're on SSI and their wives on public assistance.
Jim, I just interviewed a gentleman from LEAP. It's Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. And what they want, and this makes sense, take the money scheme out of the drug running. That's not going to make the CIA and the Afghanis very happy. It'll also curtail these drug wars and the takeover by the gangs, MS-13 distribution centers inside the United States. And also, down in Mexico, we're having severe problems there. These guys said, look, the war on drugs is an absolute abject failure. We have to take a different course. At least let the government control the quality and the quantity of the stuff. Let us tax it, and let's take the money out for the big dope dealers. And Jim, you've been around long enough. You know how this works. How many of these politicians, how many police officers, chiefs, you name it, are in on the take on the drug trade in this country?
No question about it.
Oh, my God, it's horrible.
No question about it. You know, John, there's a lot of good ideas, and all these ideas have to be distilled and digested. And once you ruminate through all these things, you know, there's the collective wisdom of the country. You could promulgate a plan and a program to make things change. But not to beat a dead horse, I want you to listen to this. There can be no change in the economic future of the United States of America with a progressive income tax.